Engineering, the next major step forward in multi-crew gameplay. Built on top of the in-development resource networking system, itself a harbinger of fire and a new reality for all life aboard spacecraft. It's been the subject of CitizenCon presentations, Q&As on Star Citizen Live, explorations on Inside Star Citizen, and fervent discussion by many of the content creators in our community. And on this final episode of ISC before hiatus and we turn all of our attentions towards CitizenCon, we invited Torsten, Bastian, and Guillermo to update us once again on the current intention and implementation of engineering, and what you can expect when the first iteration makes its way into the persistent universe.
Resource Network enables us to actually give you the gameplay that you were always looking for, which is having meaningful multi-crew gameplay, which means that it really makes sense to have multiple people running around on your ship, and that wouldn't be possible without the Resource Network.
So we say the Resource Network is a system that allows all the items and components that are part of the ship to talk to each other.
Every ground vehicle, every base, everything that runs in Star Citizen with resources.
Fundamentally, Resource Network is a replacement for the pipe system we had in the past that you may have heard about.
We chose a similar system, basically doing most of what we are doing right now with the Resource Network, but in a way that was not as scalable as what we intend to do.
Landing complete.
So right now we just have one type of hydrogen fuel, but if we want to extend that in the future to having like multiple types that have some specific benefits on the thrusters, it's very easy now to add that resource. It's just a data setup.
So Resource Network is the underlying technology for the system to work, and engineering is the gameplay we intend to have on top of this technology so that players may experience it.
Your ship flies because the thrusters get fuel, the power plants output power that the weapons and the sails and also the thrusters use. Engineering is all about both maximizing the use you get out of the Resource Network and also getting the Resource Network itself going so that you're not dead in the water.
It's all things that players will be able to interact with. They will have to dedicate roles in their ships so that crew members are assigned to fixing those issues, and they can encounter more dynamic situations that will not happen in the previous systems.
The goal right now is to have all the components on the ship being physicalized. That means that the things that will take damage will be the components. That then means that those components are the reasons to the failure of your ship.
We have the power plants, which generate the energy that your ship consumes. You have the shield generators, which take in some of that energy to convert it to shield power. You have a radar system that allows you to target the signatures of ships around you. You have coolers that generate a coolant resource.
It is all the weapons that you have, it's the quantum drive, but there are also new components that will be added to the mix, and that is the relay with its fuses. Then there's the life support generator. The biggest thing we are aiming for is switching from your health pool of the bespoke ship to just moving that completely over to the physicalized component. So damaging the component is damaging your ship.
Attack on shields.
I think this is the part where the biggest change for the players happen, because there the gameplay of repair comes in, and then you can revitalize your ship.
Systems activated.
So you can actually use your formerly dead in the water ship after exchanging or repairing the components. So we mentioned one of the new components, which is the life support generator. So let's talk about life support.
The life support does all the tasks necessary to maintain the life support inside the ship.
So it's the temperature, it's the atmosphere composition, it's the pressure inside the room. Your main responsibility is making sure that there's always enough life support resource produced to maintain a healthy atmosphere in the ship. So making sure that all the CO2 that you breathe out is actually converted into O2 again. Or if you vented a room, that the room is filled again. If your room is getting too hot, it's cooled down again. So it's all about managing this resource inside the rooms. And as already mentioned in the previous episodes, it's life support management is also a good way to counter fire. Another aspect the players have to counter or react to is misfires on components.
Misfires are something that is already in the game in some form. Thruster charges, seal generator failure, stuff like that. We're just expanding it a bit, and pretty much the idea is that, items that are damaged, that are too hot, or that, for example, are very old and degraded, will start misfiring. In some cases, that will be that it will take some extra damage. In other cases, it will be that they will stop working for a while. Other times, they will work indefinitely until an engineer comes by and manages to do some repairs. And some of the worst cases would be starting a fire, or in the case of, for example, power plants, engaging in a critical reactor failure and taking the ship with them.
There is a chance that if the power plant reaches 0 health, it will run into a critical failure, and that critical failure then will cause the entire ship to explode. It will give the player the time frame to react to that. So either by removing the component and throwing it out of the door and preventing your ship to explode, or even countering it by repairing the component and bringing it up to life again. For the initial release, we have a limited amount of misfires, but we are preparing the system, or we did prepare the system to scale well for the future, so we can introduce multiple misfires, and that leads us to damage penetration.
So damage penetration, it's a simplified version of what we'll be getting eventually with a more physicalized system, but essentially what it means is that now certain types of weapons can penetrate through the hull of a ship. This is a function of the weapon itself, its penetration values, and also of the armor of the ship, which can be depleted over time.
So if you use ballistics, you have a higher penetration, which allows you to cut through the armor more deeply and touch the components inside the ship directly. As opposed to this, you also have energy weapons, which will be more effective at melting down the armor.
The goal here is that you first need to bring down the armor health value to get to the fullest potential of your penetrating weapons. Then you can penetrate the ship and actually damage the components that sit inside the ship and not on the outside of the hull.
Obviously, there's degrees to this. Larger ballistic weapons may have enough penetration against smaller ships that it will be able to penetrate directly, but it's all of a game of choices, and it's going to depend on your ships and your weapons.
So with damage penetration and misfires happening, that brings us to repair.
As your fight progresses and components take damage in your ship, it becomes the duty of some of your crew members to first investigate what are the issues caused by battle damage, and go there to physically replace the parts in your ship.
So you have your multi-tool, so you have the salvage and repair, and the repair part of it also affects now ship components, precisely like what you see in the Arena Commander mode. You will be able to repair items that were fully destroyed. You will not be able to repair the item to its fullest, so you cannot repair an item that got fully destroyed to 100% health again. So to repair your ship components to the fullest, you actually have to bring them to the shop again and do the station repair. Or if you did think ahead and brought spare items with you, you can simply exchange them to pristine new ones. But with the caveat, it only works, just as a reminder, for size 1 and size 2 components. Size 3 and above cannot be exchanged using the tractor beam detach and attach mode. So now that we looked at what your responsibilities are in the physical space running around in your ship, let's take a look at what you do on the virtual part, which is power management and analysis of your ship on the engineering screen. So the first thing that you will see is the 3D view of your ship that highlights the location of all the ship components and how they are actually connected, where the relay positions are, what's the status of the relays are. You will see the holograms of each component.
As you can see, they have different colors. What they are representing is the overall state of the item. So an item that is very damaged, or it's on fire, or it's not getting enough power will be in a critical state. Items that are less damaged, are receiving only partial resources, or are going through a misfire, may have moderate colors. And items that are otherwise fine will have the functional or blue colors.
The biggest change that happened to the engineering UI screen is basically the power management part of it. We moved away completely from slider control for every individual item. There is indicator now for fuel. This is not relevant for the initial release, but it will be relevant for the future. Next to it you see the power plant. The power plant segments gives you an idea of how many power segments you can distribute to the ship items.
And on the right of each of the power bars, you can generally see the temperature bar. If it goes into overheating, the item will stop both consuming or producing, and it will be completely inoperable until it cools down again. So that means that assigning power to your coolers in advance is probably a good idea if you are going into a fight.
All the items on your ship generate heat, so this is where you can see the amount of heat that each item has accumulated, and you can see the amount of coolant that you are producing and whether or not you are also running a deficit. So what you want to do is put as much power as you can into the coolers until your items do not overheat, but do not assign more resources than necessary because you are running a limited pool of resources.
The same applies to the life support generators. So you have to make sure that you produce enough life support resource that the demand is fulfilled in your ship. If your demand isn't fulfilled, it will cause some failures.
There's also a notifications panel. Here the main warnings about the state of the ship will be displayed. If an item is damaged, doesn't get enough power, or is misfiring, it will create a warning. You will be able to see it as a notification. Take a look at it, go to the item, or just remove it.
So you have an option that allows you to basically log the controls so that you or the pilot, which has access to the MFD, which shares some of the power management functionality, do not conflict with your controls. So by locking this, you are able to override the MFD settings to only have it being authoritative from the engineering station.
You are able to take the power assignment you have at a given time and save it locally on your computer, meaning that when you fly again with the ship, or even if it's not your ship but somebody else's ship, you can quickly apply your presets. This is very useful in the middle of combat. You can quickly switch to a combat preset where you will give, for example, more power to shields, weapons, and thrusters. Or at the same time, you may want to have some nap mode preset where you reduce the power to everything and just put it on the bare minimum so there's no degradation or misfires related to power use.
So you can set a preset on your ship and then jump on somebody else's ship and load it up?
Indeed. Your presets are stored locally, so as long as you have access to the screen and you're using the same ship, you can apply a preset. Obviously, if the components have changed or the ship has a different loadout, the preset might not apply perfectly and you might need to adjust it, but it gives you a quick baseline on how your power is assigned.
We hope that with these changes, players will have more varied opportunities to experience the game. We'll encounter more situations where it feels relevant and enjoyable to have multi-crew gameplay in the ships, so that you do not think it's just about filling in the battle positions like the turrets and the pilot seats, but it's more involved gameplay to actually manage your ships and try to fix the ongoing situations that occur within them. And we also hope that this makes larger vehicles which have more interior space both more troublesome but also more enjoyable to play with.
We are still working hard to get it done for all of you. There are ships that already have the functionality, there are still ships that we are working on, but overall we are super excited to finally get it into the PU. So the Arena Command Experimental Mode was already fun to observe what you can do with the entire system, and now with having the feedback from that, adjusting the gameplay a little from the feedback that we received from you, I am really looking forward to see what you all will be doing with it.
So what did we learn this week? Well, we learned that there's a sweet new interface for dedicated engineering terminals aboard spacecraft. That the first implementation of armor and damage penetration means that the ways that you kill and keep your spaceships alive will fundamentally change. And that when this arrives in the PU, life aboard spaceships will never be the same again. Now, that's it for this season of Inside Star Citizen, while everybody here turns their focus towards the upcoming CitizenCon, where we'll be showcasing the future of Star Citizen beyond Alpha 4.0. Yes, it's a show you're not going to want to miss. So from the small team that makes every ISC, thank you so much for letting us stretch our proverbial wings this year. Thank you for continuing to let us share the people and process of game development with you, and we'll see you all back here after the big show. Wow, I can't believe we got